Let's go ahead and get started. So, welcome to the Grass to Garden workshop, specifically about sustainable landscape design. Today, our instructor is Shelky Tao, and my name is Michaela Camella Mello. I'm the sustainability specialist with the City of Menlo Park. Um, so, let's change the slide. So just some information about today's Zoom webinar. Um, we are recording currently. All attendees are going to be muted by default. Shelky will pause periodically for questions, and you're welcome to ask any questions if you have any. So two ways that you can ask is either raising your hand by pressing the button on your screen, or you can also type in the chat and I will read them out during the pauses for Shelky. So questions will be answered after the presentation is complete. I guess that really depends on your preference, Shelky. Do you prefer after, or would you prefer to do pauses periodically?
Yeah, it pause um periodically. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Um, yep, and like I said, this is being recorded and we're going to post it on the Bosca website, which I will show the web link later in a different slide. So just in case you miss anything, it is recorded. So just some things to note about Bosca. It represents 26 agencies that include cities, water districts, a water company, and university that purchase water wholesale from SFPUC. So BOSCA stands for Bay Area Water Supply and Conservation Agency. And then you can see right here is a map, which is basically the entire Bay Area. So the BOSCA member agencies, City Menlo Park is one of them. They provide water to 1.8 million people and over 40,000 businesses and community organizations in Alameda, Santa Clara, and San Mateo counties. And Bosca's goal is the high quality supply of water at a fair price. So some objectives of hosting these landscape webinars is just, outdoor water use represents the single largest untapped opportunity for water conservation in the Bosca service area. Outdoor water use reduction through the use of water efficient plans and innovative techniques can help conserve water and ensure that the future water supply needs of our communities are met. So this is just a breakdown slide of all of the different programs offered by Bosca. And if you are a City of Menlo Park resident, specifically a Menlo Park Municipal Water customer, you are automatically eligible to apply for any of these programs. So the Long Be Gone program, which is mainly what this workshop is kind of going to go over today, offers $3 per square foot of grass that is converted to drought-tolerant plants. And if you want to add a rain garden to your project, that you can also get an additional $300 for that. There is also a rain barrel rebate, so you can get up to $200 back in the form of a rebate check if you purchase and install a rain barrel. And then we have the Ratio Smart Controller program. So that's just a flat discount of 15% on any Ratio Smart Sprinkler Controller system. And then we also have the irrigation hardware rebates. So depending on the type and size, you can get either $5, $10, or $30 for the purchase of efficient irrigation hardware. And then all Bosca agencies also offer free water saving fixtures. So aerators for your different faucets, such as the bathroom and kitchen, low flow shower heads, and also leak detection tablets for the back of your toilet tank. So if you want to know specifically more about Menlo Park's programs, you can visit menlopark.gov/water conservation. Or if you are not a Menlo Park Municipal Water customer, you can go to bosca.org/programs and find out more about your water provider's rebate programs. So, another great resource for water conservation is bayareagardening.org. And this site just provides resources to support residents with their lawn to garden transformation projects. So, some resources that are included on this site is a gallery of various different gardens that have gone through the Lawn Be Gone program and have transformed it into a new drought-tolerant garden. So all types of different landscapes in the Bay Area. And then it also will identify the plants, so you can kind of take a look at which plants you might want to install in your own garden. And then there's also tools on there to help you select plants that you'd like to install. So, if you are specifically a Santa Clara County resident, you can visit southbaygreen.gardens.org. And this is more information about specifically Santa Clara County programs through Valley Water, which is very similar to Bosca. Um, there's also lots of different videos you can watch at watersavings.org. And then if you would like to report a water waster, you can email waterwise at valleywater.org through Access Valley Water. So here are some additional upcoming webinars that you can attend with the various different topics in the next few weeks. So if you want to take a screenshot, now would be a good time. And then there are also more classes listed at bosca.org/classes. And then at the bottom, you can see the link here, bosca.org/conserve/landscaping/videos. It's a little long, but that is where the recordings are going to be posted, including this class here. Okay. So yeah, thank you everybody for coming today. So if you have any questions specifically about Menlo Park programs, you can always reach out to water@menlopark.gov. Um, Otherwise, that's it for me. So I'll hand it over now to Shelky. Let me just stop sharing.
Thank you, Michaela. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the tonight's webinar. Okay, so we are going to talk about grass to garden, sustainable landscape design, a very interesting topic, a topic that we all need to do now to try to transform more lawns into sustainable landscapes or gardens. My name is Shaoqi Tao. I'm the founder of Water Efficient Gardens, a landscape design business. So here are some examples of the grass to garden example. So as you can see, this is a backyard. The lawn has turned brown, so really not that attractive. And after the transformation, it becomes this beautiful backyard garden with this bench and tons of birds and bees and for the owner to go and enjoy. So that's one example. The second one is this front yard lawn. It's turned, it's had all these weeds. And after we transform it, this is how it looked like. All native plants with a rain garden in the front of the garden here. All the colors attract tons of bees and birds. So this is another example of grass to a sustainable garden. So that's the third example. So before, this is just such a lawn. It's really not that not unsightly. And after the transformation, that's how it looks. So tons of colors, just so many. It also attracts all kinds of like butterflies and bees. So when we talk about sustainable landscape or gardens, we are mainly talking about California native gardens because they are just really awesome for such a garden. I'm going to talk about some of the reasons next. We are very blessed to live in California in that we have so many beautiful native plants. I took these photos during one of the super blooms about 3 or 4 years ago. And it's just like when you go there, you just see this wild, wide expanse of all these wild flowers. The whole mountain is covered by the wildflowers. We have the most native plants species in all the states. So in that we are really lucky. We have over 6,500 types of plants. Many of them cannot be found anywhere else in the world. However, despite we have this rich diversity, we also face the threats for to this native plant population. Um, we also face the habitat loss, the climate change, and all kinds of like other threats. This is a map that shows the biodiversity hotspot. So the whole world, we have 36. So you can see these red areas that indicates a biodiversity hotspot. And here we are right here. It's called California Floristic Province. So it covers most of the California and a little bit Mexico, but mostly California. So we can say the whole state of California is one of the 36 hotspots. Well, to qualify as a biodiversity hotspot, a region must meet one of these two strict criteria. One, it must have at least 1,500 vascular plants as endemics. Endemics meaning you cannot find it anywhere else in the world, only in this specific area. So California has 6,500 native species, and out of a lot of that is endemic. So it meets this criteria. And then on the other hand, at least 30% or less of its original natural vegetation, it must be less than 30%, meaning over 70% of it is already, no, it's gone. It's no longer there. So because California meets that criteria, we also know that 70% of our original natural vegetation is already gone. The whole state, it used to be like this super bloom that we see, but now you can only see it in some of the spots. So that's what this means, that more than 70% is gone. So from this fact, we can feel at the same time both blessed, right? We have so many native plant species, but also kind of like concerned or pay attention to because again, more than 70% is gone now. And we should do our best to preserve what's remaining, what's remained. These are just some photos in the this is from Mount Diablo. If you go around this time, you will see all these beautiful manzanitas, the native, our big native trees blooming right now. And many of the manzanitas from Mount Diablo, actually, they are endemic, meaning you can only find it in that area. You could not find it anywhere else. So beautiful in the nature can be beautiful in our garden. So you can see this one example here where we just planted this manzanita and how it looks in our front yard. Golden poppies. And if you also make this beautiful corner in a front yard garden. By the way, this is a rain garden. I will talk about it a little bit more later, but you can see this in this photo. There's this downspout, and then when it rains, then all that rainwater, instead of going anywhere, it will be directed into this rain garden and water the plants inside. Yeah, it's a very good way to capture and reuse rainwater. And that's one key of making the landscape sustainable. The silver lupine, that's also another plant native to our area. And you can see how it can look like in our garden. Absolutely gorgeous. That's just one more photo of a native garden. So what is special about native plants and why we should use them in our gardens? Well, most of them are low water plants. Um, when we say low water, it's not just like, okay, we thought they are low water, so they are low water. Actually, there's a way to measure that. It's called WUCOS, or Water Use Classification of Landscape Species. It's UC Davis. They have done the extensive studies for a lot of the plant materials, and they categorize them into these four categories based on the ET0, basically the evaporation rate of the plant. We don't need to go into details for that. We just need to know that for all the plant species, they are categorized into these four different categorizations. So from very low means that they only need very low water to survive and grow, to high water use. So the grass in our lawns, that's high water use plants. That's why they need so much water. And a lot of the native plants, they are very low or low water plants. And that's where the water saving can be achieved. Say for lawns grass, it needs like 100 units of water, where this native plant only needs like 10% of that. So, or 10 units. And that 90 units, that's where the water saving potential is. So also this note here, species assigned to very low were classified as needing no irrigation except during years of below average rainfall. Meaning if we have at least average rainfall or above average rainfall, they don't need any extra irrigation. That's why we often say that for a native garden, after they are established, they don't need, a lot of them don't need extra water or city water. They can just survive from the natural rainfall. So here you can see an example. The silver lupine that I just showed, you can see it's very low water use plant. So that means after it's established in our garden, after the first 1 or 2 years, it can be on their own. You don't need to give it any extra irrigation water. On the other hand, this feather reed grass, which is not a native, it's it's a moderate water use plant. So that means most likely during especially during summer times, you do need to give it quite some water. So when we are design a garden, should we go with a silver lupine or should we go with a feather reed grass? So I think the answer is pretty clear there. And silver lupine is just so beautiful. So we can like achieve both purposes with one plant, the low water use plant like silver lupine. Um, why can they be such low water use plants? Because they are just adapted to our climate, which is kind of like a dry climate and also very seasonal. This is a precipitation graph for our area, for the Bay Area. You can see that most of the rainfall comes in winter and almost nothing in summer. That's the reverse to the other parts of the world where most of the rainfall comes in summer. So because these plants, they are from here, so they are adapted to this cycle. So when winter comes, when the rain comes, then they will kind of like wake up from the summer dormancy and then start to grow and bloom. You in December you will have the flowering currant blooming. January to February, the manzanita will bloom, and then around here now to April, you will see the golden poppies like the super bloom photo I just showed. And then going into summer, a lot of them will just go into dormancy or slow the growth, and then so to reduce the need for water. And because of that, that's why they don't need any extra water. They can survive the summer because they have the coping mechanism to cope with that. But if it's not a native plant, then they don't have that mechanism to deal with a very dry summer, very dry and hot summer. And then at that point, then you still need to give it a lot of water. So these are some examples of these very low water use plants. In addition to the silver lupine I just mentioned, so common manzanita, sagebrush, western redbud, mountain mahogany, white sage, and coyote mint. These are all very beautiful and extremely low or low water use plants, and they are just good for a native garden. Why we should go with native gardens? There's just so many uh, reasons. Number one, definitely save water that we just talked about. We just mentioned this, right? If they are not native, then that means, especially during the summertime, we just need to give it a lot of water to make sure they can still survive. In our area, let's say our average, this is our precipitation graph, and say the grass, they need, this is the water they need to survive. Then during the hot summer months, then that's how much water we need to give to them. In nationwide or in California, about 53%, 50 to 53% of water is used outdoors just to water the lawns. So when you think about it, it's kind of crazy, right? It's like so much of our water is used to just water the lawns. But if you transform the lawn to a native garden, you can really save a lot of water. So for this garden, for this house, after we did the transformation, the water use reduced by 15%. Another example, the water usage went down by 56%. So we have real data. It's not just we think, right, that it can save water. We have real data to back up that the water saving is real. And also the garden is also beautiful. It's not like we just putting or a bunch of cactuses and those desert plants. No, not at all. You can see you still have a lot of flowers and colors, and then meanwhile can save half of the water. Another huge benefit is to support biodiversity. So we have on the west, we have the monarch butterflies on this side of the states. There's eastern monarch butterfly and western monarch butterfly. On our side, it's western monarch butterfly, and the picture for it is really not good. So in 1990, the Pismo Beach State Beach, the count for monarch butterflies was something like 220,000. 10 years ago, it went down to about 22,000. Here, there's a more complete picture from like about 1.2 million in 1990 to like only about 12,000 last year. So most scientists indicate that we are actually facing a 99% chance, like almost definite conclusion of quasi-extinction of the Western monarch butterflies. Last year, they counted 12,260 monarch butterflies. That was the third lowest. So it's really not a good picture there. The main causes are like the loss of habitat. It's right if you think about the state map we just talked about, right? The hotspot. So it used to be right all kinds of like fields like this, but we already lost over 70% of them. So that's just one very big reason for that. So and you have other things like pesticides, climate change, and so forth. The one thing we all can do and help is to try to plant native plants in our gardens so that will at least counter part of the loss of the habitat. And it can really work. So in every garden I design, I will always try to include at least a couple native millweeds that the Western monarch butterflies depend on. And once you put them in, they all come. They do come. So this is the garden, and where I design a couple such narrow leaf millweed here. And then that's what the owner saw. He said it was we did this can't remember too well now, maybe in around fall time. And he said he came back from a summer trip and then he saw all these worms on this plant, and he was so worried. He said, "What's happening?" And then after he Googled it, he found, oh, actually these were the babies for monarch butterflies. So then he was so happy that yeah, the garden did help the monarchs a little bit. And th this is another example. That's the monarchs and just resting on this narrow leaf milkweeds. So the monarch butterfly is just one of the examples. Then constantly, these native gardens just attract so many like native bees and hummingbirds and all the other bees and butterflies. Another big benefit is that it can reuse rainwater. Again, right, we just saw the precipitation graph that the rainwater mainly come in the winter time. So we just the plants we it, they we should just let the plants take full advantage of that all that rainwater. And the native plants are exactly the kind of plants that can do that. So a rain garden is something like this. So this is the downspout. So you can just dig a hole in the, it's a shallow depression area in the garden. And then you have kind of like a narrow channel that can direct the water into this rain garden. And then you plant plants in the rain garden. Then during the rain time, the rainwater will just water these plants. You don't need to water them anymore. Just you fully utilizing the rainwater. This way, the plants will grow and it will become a habitat for that monarch butterfly and all other pollinators. Meanwhile, that rainwater will also soak deep down into the soil and recharge our groundwater. That's also very critical for our long-term water safety and water system health. The groundwater is an important source of water. So during the drought times, sometimes we just need to pump from the groundwater because we just did not have enough surface water for our needs. But after overuse of the last several decades, the groundwater level in some areas has really decreased a lot. So to utilize the rainwater to recharge is one of very important ways to bring that groundwater level back to normal or close to normal. So this is another example of a rain garden. So you can see the downspout is right here. And we dig under this path. And so that all that rainwater will flow into this rain garden here. And you can see it waters all these native plants and it's doing so well here. Here is a video that shows this native bee just so happy, yeah, flying from one flower to another flower. Um, Preserve regional character. That's our state flower. So there's nothing that speaks more about our place than the plants, right? That come from the area. So when we have a garden that's mainly of the California native plants, or even mainly native of the Menlo Park area or San Mateo area, that's our language of saying how proud we are, right, about for our area, for the city we are from. Lower maintenance. So for a lawn, you need to mow it. You need to just have putting all these constant maintenance. For native plants, native garden, especially in the first 2 years, the maintenance is minimal. The main thing is that you just put in the irrigation and that's about it. But after second year, you might need to trim it, you might need to keep it in shape and all that. But compare with the maintenance required for a lawn, that's it's much less than that. Um, the maintenance is not only time consuming, it also generates consumes so much gas and adds so much carbon and also contributes to the climate change. So by removing this maintenance work, we can also remove that much carbon from the air. So we already talked about this one benefit that it can help combat climate change, the maintenance, less maintenance and less burning of the gas. Another way you can do this is that save water can also save energy. Um, currently, the climate change situation also is not it's not a beautiful picture. Um, so there's this study that says that if it's warmer than 1.5 centigrade degrees centigrade, then the temperature will, sorry, the sea level will rise by half meter by 2054. And actually, the San Mateo County or Menlo Park, that the county actually will quite some people, like up to about 100,000 people will be impacted because that many people live in the area close to that can be vulnerable to the flood. So it's the climate change is real, and it's not just something in the like we don't need to think about. It will impact us down the road. So it's one thing that's really critical is that we need to do everything we can to slow the increase of carbon in the air. And it needs to fall by 45% to avoid such a catastrophe from happening. Um, we might not realize that our water actually, a lot of water actually comes from a faraway place. So when we turn on the tap, that water actually might travel like thousands, hundreds miles away from Sierra Nevada, that kind of like snow melt water. So you have the state water project, this kind of like extensive water system to bring the water from Sierra Nevada all the way to the Bay Area. And all that transportation and treatment uses a lot of energy. So it is said that 20% of the total electricity consumption is used on supplying municipal water. So when we save water, we also save that 20% share of the electricity. So it can also save the impact on climate change. One more factor, one more reason this can help us combat climate change is that the native plants, they have very deep root system. And because of that, it can like improve the soil quality so that in turn, it can absorb more carbon in the soil. That's another great thing about the healthy soil that it can um, store carbon. If in the contrary, if we just let it become very compact, become very poor quality soil, then it will release all that carbon into the air, and that will also increase our risk for the climate change. Well, these are all the great things, native plants for our environment. It's also great for us. Who wouldn't like a beautiful garden, right? It can add so much curb appeal. It can reduce stress and boost our well-being. So it's just all around, just all have all these great benefits for us. So this is another native garden that with a small tree and shrubs and perennials. And here you can see it just a little bit of the downspout. And again, we also dig a kind of like a tube underneath, and then the water flows into here and water the plants here. So this is also a rain garden. This is specifically for HOA. In as a measure to like increase the water saving, so the state have passed this regulation that for commercial, industrial, and institutional properties, starting for HOAs, starting 2029, the common areas, if they are lawns, then they cannot be watered anymore using the city water. So if the lawns are non-functional, meaning no kids playing soccer, no one using it for picnic, if it's just there for decoration, then starting 2029, January 1st, no more watering the common area lawns. So if any of you currently live in a HOA, you might bring it up to the board and let them know such regulation. So that's one example for an institutional property like YMCA. So this is a long, and then so I designed a native garden for it, and all the volunteers from the Y and like a Rotary Club, and just build this garden together. And in just 1 year, it was like we installed the garden in September, and this photo was taken like in June, the next year. So in just 9 or 10 months, a native garden can already really deliver quite some miracle. So this is a HOA. So this is a before, and that's the actually I should upload a photo of the real garden. And it already like just 3 months after we these flowers all bloomed, and it achieved something like 65% water saving. Okay, so after we talk about all the great things about a native garden, we can talk about how we can go about designing a garden. So step one, definitely apply for the rebate. So Michaela just mentioned that you have it's a $3 per square feet. So definitely take good advantage of that. Um, So the first step is to submit an application, and then there's a pre-inspection that the city will come out to measure and measure the square footage of the lawn area, and then we can design it and then submit the plan list. And then the city will approve it and issue the notice to proceed. And then that's when you can install the garden. Step one is to know your space. So there are multiple things to know about. The first one is that what's the orientation? How big is your yard? Try to look it up on Google Map and try to draw down the area. and just draw down the main elements, like where the house is, where the path is, and if there's a tree, then also jot down where the tree is, so that we have this we call base map to work on. Sun exposure, that's like the number one important factor when we are doing the designing or planning. Because the plants they really have different levels of sensitivity to the sun exposure. Some can only live or do well in full exposure or in full sun, but others they can only do well in shade. So it's critically important that we understand which part of the yard it has full sun and which part has only shade or partial shade or full shade. So some plants they just like it hot. Some plants just like only can do well in shade. So that's the thing we need to understand before we do any designing. So we talk about building a rain garden. So another thing to find out is that where the downspout is in your front yard or backyard. So usually they are located at one of the corners. So you can find out that and mark it in the base map. So for example, just as an example, there's a downspout at this corner, so we can put it right here. Another very important aspect is the soil. So there are three types of soil, sand, loam, and clay. So one quick way to find out is that you get a small handful of soil and add enough water, and then just try to squeeze it like here. And if you can barely make it a ribbon, then likely it's sand. If you can make a very long ribbon, that's clay. Anything in between, likely it's loam. In our area, a lot of the clay is very prevalent, but still yards are kind of like differ from yard to yard. So this is a quick test you can do. If you really want to know, you can do a kind of like a soil test. You can like take the soil samples and send to a lab, and then they can do the professional testing and send the result back to you. Well, after you understand those basic conditions of your yard, then another one is you yourself. How do you want to use this garden after it's built? For example, when I was designing this garden, the owners told me they just want to be able to walk around the garden. So they want a very kind of like a wide path around it. So that's why it became kind of like the first thing that I tackle when I was doing the design, that making sure that there's a path that can allow the owners to walk all over the garden and walk well. Here, this garden, it's a backyard garden, and the owners, they just want to have a quiet corner to have breakfast and read newspaper. So that's how we designed this deck right next to these two rain gardens. So what you want to achieve, that's obviously very important, and that's like the guiding goals for you when you are considering all kinds of like elements. If you have things, if you want to have like vegetable beds, a kids play area, dogs area, one good way is to write them all down, right? So that you won't forget any of them, and then just try to like make sure that in the design you incorporate the elements that can deliver on all these goals. Garden styles. So there are lots of garden styles. So on my website, we have like 8 different garden styles you can choose from. Like if you like a pollinator garden, then the plants you choose, right, will be heavy pollinator plants. If you like a small tree like this, then you can also kind of like make sure you include a tree in the garden. This is native garden, and this is garden with a rain garden. And if you like gardening, then you can also have at least some space dedicated to that. Some people like boulders or a dry riverbed, so that's also some style elements to consider. Succulents, plants. So the main thing to consider is that the sun exposure, do they take full sun or do they only can do well in par shade? What kind of garden styles? If you like succulent garden a lot, then obviously you're going to include a big number of succulents. The main plant categories, you have like big trees all the way to annual plants. In our residential gardens, usually the big trees are too big for us, for most of us, right? So mostly we might have some small trees, shrubs, and the perennial plants. And you can include some annual plants as well. But these are kind of like the big categories that we mainly look at. Small trees, shrubs, and perennials. Trees are super important for our environment, and they are really beautiful too. Um, they have strong biodiversity benefit. So if you look at this table, a coast live oak, an oak tree, which is a native tree to the Bay Area, well, it can. This is how many the number of butterflies and moths that it can host. Confirmed 45 and likely 122. So altogether, some like close to 170 butterflies and moths that it can host. Versus eucalyptus, it's not a native tree. It's from Australia. It's less than 5. And the cream myrtle, it's less than 2, almost like 0. So the biodiversity benefits, as you can see, it's like day and night. So when we can have the choice, then we should definitely go with the native trees for its biodiversity benefits. These are we all already talked about. It can absorb carbon, reduce the heat island effect in the cities, reduce the flood hazard because during the heavy rain time, its roots can really absorb a lot of water, and its branches and leaves can slow down the 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 speed of the water coming down to the ground, prevent soil erosion, and have all these health benefits. It's proven that when we look at the greens of the trees, it can calm us. It's backed up by scientific studies. So a tree really has all these great benefits. So these are some of the great small trees we can include in our garden, like a western rabbit, the manzanita, flannel bush, oak, valley oak, or coast live oak, bladder pot, coffee berry, ceanothus, and sagebrush, yarrow, coyote mint. So these, as you can see, they all have, they're all low, very low water use native plants and trees, beautiful, and attract many pollinators. There are more, seaside daisy and California poppy. So yeah, the poppy is more like annual slash perennial. These are the seaside daisy to the yarrow, they are like perennials. And then the ceanothus, sagebrush, these are the shrubs. These are just trees. So these are some of the design principles. We should aim to cover at least 50% of the space of the lawn area. That's the rebate requirement anyways. So we should try to cover the whole space, at least 50% of the space with the native plants. Right plant at the right place. So if a plant likes full sun, then don't put it in the shady corner and vice versa. At the rain garden, start with a tree. So because tree takes the most space, it anchors the space. So when you design the first thing, after you have the base map, think where you will place the tree and then arrange others according to that. Consider the flower colors. That's where you can have your creativity, which color you like. Then you can select the plants, have those kind of colors. When we have the choice, go with the one that can support, right, the monarchs and other pollinators, and not trees like cream myrtle, where it does not support as many. Easy to walk around. And also for hardscaping, try to go with the ones that have permeable, that are permeable, like these kind of like paths, right? And it can allow water to fully penetrate. So those are the good hardscaping. But places like the concrete, it's not permeable. So unless absolutely necessary, try to go with the ones that's permeable. So this is a example. So just use what we just did. So from here, this is the downspout. So we say, okay, let's add a rain garden. So let's put a rain garden here. Rain garden needs to be at least 10 feet away from the house, so that to avoid any possible issues of flooding, etc. So so that's how we will place the rain garden. Here, that's where we were going to place the tree. Now, this one thing is too that we also want the landscaping design to be fire resilient. I should update this a little bit more. So now it's not regulation yet, but it's highly recommended we keep the 5 feet distance. We keep the zone 0 free of any vegetation. Zone 0 means any space within 5 feet of the house, because that's just to prevent any embers during the fires to get into our house. So I would say I would this was done a while back. I should update it. But anyhow, I would move it out a little bit, maybe even to here, to make sure that it's safe from the house. And then after you have the tree down, then you can add all the other shrubs and perennials. So this is one example. So this is a project I did a while back. So as you can see, this is a house in a HOA. Right in the middle, you have this big olive tree. So when you do the site analysis, this part is in full sun, and that part is pretty much full shade. So when you do the design, then the full sun plants should go here, and then the shady plants can go here. Because this is a part of the HOA, they also mandated that the plants in this space cannot be more than 2 feet tall. So that's another when you do the design, that's another thing to keep in mind. They also want some tall plants to flank the windows, the window. So and that's how it was designed. Um, the plants This is the plan list from the city that you will receive when you submit the application. So again, as we mentioned, we can try to consider their height, consider their width, their coverage, like each plant, you can find the coverage numbers right next to its name. So for example, if you have a long area of 1,000 square feet, then you need to cover half of that or 500 square feet. So say if we do one acacia, that give you 177. Anyhow, so the thing is that the design should be done based on your style, what you want to achieve. And also, when all the plants are selected, then they should add up to be more than 50% of the lawn area. By the way, acacia, I would not recommend it because it's not a native tree. To the extent possible, let's use a native tree like a Western rebate or a small oak. This is another project. This is a lawn, as you can see, and this is the downspout. So when I was working on the design, the homeowner said her main goal is that she wants a beautiful garden, of course, and she wants to when she looks out from the window inside the house, she can enjoy the garden as well. So for that, she doesn't want any like big trees or tall shrubs. And also because there's a downspout, and she was happy to add a rain garden. So that's how the garden was done. So it's all made up of these colorful native plants and a rain garden, and it did super well. This was taken about 2 years after it was installed. So it's really a good example how a garden can really enhance the environment and still save a lot of water. Um, the Going Native Garden Tour, it's really one of the best places that you can learn about native plants and native gardens. And it's coming up. I think it's you can go to gngT.org. I think it's the second or third week in April. So once you register, you will receive this list of homes where you can go visit the native gardens. It's really one of the best chances for you to see the gardens and plants in person and learn everything about them. So I will highly encourage you to go find out and check it out. Cowscape.org. So that's the kind of like the most extensive the website that has the most extensive information for all plants native in California. It has all the most information you will need, the photos, names, the sun exposure it needs, the water needs. So that's a great website. Doug Tallamy, he's called the native plant guru in this country. And he has written several bestseller books. One of that is Nature's Best Hope. Highly recommend. You can find his talk on YouTube. After watching it, you will understand why it is so critical important to plant native trees and plants in our gardens. We have a couple very good native gardens in our area. The San Francisco Botanical Garden and Santa Cruz UC Santa Cruz Botanical Garden. They have a big dedicated section for California native plants. So if you have the time to visit these places, I will also recommend that you take a look. And UC Berkeley as well.
Hi, Shelky. Thank you. We do
Mhm.
have a question in the chat from Sandra.
Okay. Uh-huh.
She'd like to know, where do I get my soil tested?
There are some labs. Yeah, if you search online, you can find them. But if you still can't, just send an email to me, and I can send a couple names to you. Any other questions? Oh, you might see that. That's great. Yeah, there's a small botanical garden in Woodside. I think it's on the tour as well, I think. So yeah, definitely a great place to look at and check out the native plants. Here's my uh, email and phone number. Welcome to contact me and ask any information. Okay, one more question.
Yep. They asked, I have sun in the winter and shade in the summer. What should I plant?
I think the good plants are the ones that can take all kinds of conditions. So like yarrow, that's such a plant. It can do well no matter what. Yeah, and like coffee berry, that's also a good one. It can do well in either sun or shade conditions.
All right. Any more questions? You can raise your hand or type in the chat. Well, thank you so much, Shelky. This has been great, very informational. I'll go ahead and stop the recording there. And for everyone, it